mate, it's devastating. What's happening this week, and it's happening to our country. They're destroying it from the inside out. And I think they're doing it on purpose.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
The world has failed, I tell you. The world has failed yet again.
Hi, everybody. I'm joined by a friend and independent journalist and campaigner, Gordon Dimmack. And Gordon has been heavily involved in the Julian Assange campaign. We're recording this on Saturday, the 24th of February. And you were at the court hearings this week, Gordon. Before we get into that, do you want to say where people can find you?
Yeah, all of my work is collated at my website, gordondimmack.com. So go there, all my work from various platforms, or is all collated there, or will be very soon anyway. So
great. Okay.
Yeah.
And just to contrast, because there was a lot of stuff in the media about Alexei Navalny suddenly dying, and with no evidence whatsoever. Everybody knows, the mainstream media, the Western governments knew that Putin did it. It was Putin. It was Putin. Now there's no.
He suddenly died. He suddenly died. Do we know his vaccination status, Rich?
I don't know. I don't
suddenly
know.
Died.
His CIA.
Well, I mean, you know, Occam's razor, right? What's the excess deaths we've got right now of suddenly dying people?
Yeah.
Occam's razor suggests that it could very well be that, right? How they
No, not with him. It was
they haven't interviewed a single person. They haven't seen a single piece of evidence, but they all know 100%. That it was Novichok and it was Professor Plum in the candlestick in the library. They all know. None of them had a clue. None of them had a goddamn clue how Jeffrey Epstein could have died. They didn't have a clue. But they know it's for certain what happened to Navalny. It's these you've become a joke, you people have, on a world stage.
Oh, Gordon, you are fabulous. By the way, you should really subscribe to him on his channel. You want more of this, right? More of that passion. But also, because the outlets like the BBC and The Guardian, they care so much about independence and journalism and stuff like that, that they barely gave a mention to Gonzalo Lira, who was an American journalist and died in the custody of the Ukrainian government for criticizing Ukraine. And then, I don't know if you know about Graham Phillips, Gordon. Do you know?
No, that's a new name for me.
Graham Phillips is a British journalist. Right at the start of the Ukraine war, he's been broadcasting from behind Russian lines, giving an independent perspective, not the mainstream media perspective. He hasn't been convicted of anything, and the British government have debanked him. He's lost all sorts. He doesn't have any access to any funding. And nothing about him in the mainstream media. Graham Phillips, people can look him up, right? And because he doesn't toe the established line.
It's the first thing they did to WikiLeaks, debank them.
Yeah, and that's what's coming up with, with CBDCs, which is why we need to resist CBDCs. They are coming, and the mainstream media aren't telling us about CBDCs and the threat that they pose, because then each and every single one of us is going to be debanked or have the risk of being partially debanked, that you can't travel here, which is what the LTNs and the ULEZ is about, or you can't go and buy steak because you need to eat insects this week. And then of course there's the tragedy of Julian Assange. And if I'm honest, Gordon, I don't pay attention to this story. I just find it too upsetting. Just too upsetting.
It's funny you say that, Rich, because on the morning of day 2, I had to stop filming. I actually had to stop filming, had to take a break and go back for the march later on day 2, because I was so upset. I was so upset. We're touching here on the way you believe that CBDCs are going to be used to censor people and to censor the truth and to make sure that nobody knows what the truth is. And if nobody knows what the truth is, then you can't make an informed decision. You're going to make the wrong decision. And on the morning of day 1, I went to record outside the court, and I managed to get a ticket inside for a couple of hours to listen to what was going on. Now, we're talking about the Royal Courts of Justice here, Rich. You've probably seen this building. It's a massive Gothic-looking building. It looks like something out of Harry Potter, right?
Beautiful. I've been in there. Beautiful.
Huge. It's the Royal Courts of Justice. I mean, you would expect. I mean, this is the biggest case of press freedom ever. It's the first time ever a publisher has been charged with the Espionage Act, and it creates a devastating precedent on journalism the world over. And the media hardly touched it for a start. But you get there, and they have put it, the court, in the smallest court in the Royal Courts of Justice, Court 5. Julian Assange isn't there. Julian Assange can't even appear on video because he's so ill. He coughed a few weeks ago, Rich. He coughed and broke a rib.
Jesus.
Coughed and broke a rib. He's so frail. Everybody that meets him says they can't believe his appearance. We have tortured this man in the centre of London for 12 years. 7 years in Ecuador, in the Ecuadorian embassy, where he was arbitrarily detained. And now 5 years in Belmarsh prison, the maximum security prison of the UK, with terrorists and murderers and rapists and the worst kinds of people as his cellmates and neighbours. And he hasn't committed a crime. He's done journalism. He's there on remand, serving no sentence for no crime whatsoever. So I finally get into the court, was Court 3. Now this, for people that aren't aware, originally the lower court denied extradition based on the suicide risk to Assange. And then the upper court, the World Court of Justice, overturned that appeal based on a pinky swear from the United States that they wouldn't hurt him. The very same organisation, the United States, that under Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump were drawing up plans to kidnap and kill him in the centre of London. They've said, yeah, well, as long as you swear with him, well, he's dead, right? So this is his hearing to see if the UK justice system will grant him an appeal to appeal that based on, look at all the evidence that we've seen since. They planned to kidnap and kill him. Siggy Thordarson's testimony is the testimony of a convicted pedophile and fraudster that the FBI gave immunity to, who then went on a crime spree across Europe. Yes, a pedophile. One of his victims killed himself and they got the charges on that drop. Even he in the interview said, oh, I don't think they should have dropped a pedophile. This is their star witnesses in this case. So they put it in Court 3, which is the smallest court. There's 12 seats in the gallery, Rich. 12. I mean, Stella Assange, family members, brother, husband. That's it. There's like 2 journalists there that Stella had invited. So it was like Craig Murray and somebody else. They're the only journalists inside the court. The rest of the journalists covering this were in Court 3, 2 courts down, which is a bigger court than Court 5. I was interviewed by Due Diligence over in America, and the guy went, wait, what? So the overflow is bigger than the venue? That never happens in any forum ever, where the overflow is bigger than the venue. Why didn't you swap it? So I sat down in this hall. There's big bookcases, left and right, and there's about, old church pews, and it's really Gothic looking. And all the books go back to like 1814 with all the cases that were in 1814. So this is like 200 years old, this building plus. You can't hear a goddamn thing. They've got 2 screens at the front with spaces for about 40 journalists and members of the public to watch proceedings going on in the other court. I'm not kidding you when I say this is all you can hear. On the biggest case of press freedom ever. We invented the microphone. I'm pretty sure that, and this happens by the way, I've covered almost every trial going back 5 years, every court thing and whatever going back. This happens every single time without fail. This is on purpose, Rich. And I realised, at one stage, the feed cut and then came back 60 seconds later. And then it cut again a couple of minutes later. We couldn't hear what was going on in the court. And a man appeared on the screen in portrait mode, like that, on his phone, looking at the phone. The camera was pointed. It looked like he was on the shitter, Rich. It looks like he was taking a shit. That doesn't happen without being it on purpose as a thumb in the eye to people to say, fuck you. We can do whatever we want and you can't do a damn thing. We can murder and torture a journalist to death and then ship him off to be God knows what. They won't kill him in America. They'll keep him alive in some sick, twisted fucking torture ritual. That's the sort of evil bastards that we're dealing with. And they are hiding every bit of this information from the public. When their democracy and their right to a free press and their right to know the truth, their right to know what their government is doing in their name with their money is on the line here, and the media aren't fucking talking about it, Rich. I am so mad about this. And I got so upset that morning, that second morning. I went home on the first night. I got so drunk. I drank nearly a bottle of vodka. I'm dealing with such awfulness from these people. And the second day, I had to cut the feed because I was so upset. This isn't North Korea. This isn't China or Russia or anything that our media say, oh, you don't want to go there. They torture and murder journalists. You don't want to go to Russia. Look at what they did to Navalny. They have tortured this man for 12 years, and his only crime was he told the truth about war criminals that the United Kingdom are up to their necks, right up their arses. People who have honey trap operations and use fucking kids to trap people into going along with whatever they want. It's sick, and they are hiding the truth from everybody. We don't have a country anymore, people. We don't. We don't have a country. We have a nation that has been hijacked by rich elite motherfuckers that are stateless, that don't give a shit about any one of us. And it was evident this week with the Julian Assange trial. I think what they will do, Rich, is they will grant him appeal, which will take him back to square one. They have to start the whole process. It's been 5 years in Belmarsh. If he gets a chance to appeal, it just means he gets to start the process again. They are murdering this man in the centre of London, and then they're pointing fingers at Russia and saying, look at that, look at what he did to Navalny. Doesn't Putin shit stink? I tell you, MPs right down there at the moment are trying to come out and say, oh, we're scared as an excuse for the debacle of not having ceasefire. But they're saying scared. Well, I'm telling you, Rich, they fucking should be. They should be scared. They are going along with the genocide, with our name and our money, and they are torturing the best journalist that's ever lived in the centre of London. And they're doing it on behalf of foreign states. They should be scared. They're fucking traitors.
Okay, what can we do?
What we can do is exactly what Chris was talking, Chris Williamson earlier. Don't vote for anybody. Any of these people, do not vote with them. There's no lesser of two evils. There's just evil. So first of all, we don't vote for any of them. Not a single one. If you're in Labour and you're one of the good in Labour, get out now, because you're going to lose your seats. That Labour Party is done. Don't believe the polls. The polls are there. Let me tell you, which will back me up on this. I've been doing this a while. The polls are not there to inform you. They're there to drag opinion along. They're not there to inform opinion. They're there to manufacture it. When was the last time a pollster rang you up and stopped you in the street? If it's saying they're points ahead in the polls, it's only because people don't have another choice. It's which way are you going to vote, Labour or Conservative or Green or Lib Dem? It's never other. It's never somebody. They never put other there.
No, but it's this.
Other would get about 80% of the votes.
Well, are you going to vote for the WEF Tories or the WF Labour or WF Green or WF Lib Dem or WF SNP?
Do you want blue Zionism or red Zionism or green Zionism or yellow Zionism? Take your pick. That's democracy.
Yeah. In blue imperialism, red imperialism, green imperialism, yellow imperialism, choose your brand of imperialism. Or go check out the Workers' Party and the other small parties that are for liberty, for peace, and for freedom. Gordon, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Right, always love when you
appreciate it, mate. I'm sorry I get animated whenever I talk to you.
Not at all.
I actually can't help myself. What I saw this week, mate, it's devastating. What's happening this week, and it's happening to our country. They are destroying it from the inside out. and I think they're doing it on purpose.
Oh, they are
And
doing
it seems very much to me like you've been right all along, and they're doing it all on purpose to bring in this
Great Reset.
Orwellian nightmare.
All along.
And
That's right.
if you want a taster of what's to come, if they do bring this in and there's no oversight of it, if you want a taster of what's to come, look at how they're shutting people up right now. My friend Fiona Ryan, who reports on the Middle East just as I do, she goes further into the to geopolitics and whatever. She does great work. They arrested her on the 11th of December for a post where she supported Hamas. She didn't support Hamas. It was a joke, actually, she made about Hamas. They arrested her on December the 11th and said that they didn't charge her with anything. They arrested her under the whatever act. Didn't charge her with anything and tried to... One of the bail stipulations was she couldn't use social media. It's a journalist who works on social media. They said you can't do it. Her barrister got that taken off, right? But because she speaks a lot about the LGBTQ and the transgender issues, you should actually interview Fiona. You'd love her, Rich. You should get in touch. But because she speaks about the LGBTQ and the transgender issue, she gets a lot of hate. And they complained about her. She's complained about it to the police. They've arrested her again last week for posts that she made on social media between January something and the other, 3-week period. None of these are LGBTQ, and none of these posts that she's made on TikTok have broken any TikTok rules. So you know that she hasn't broken the law. But they arrested her again and again, bang, put this stipulation on. She can't speak. They've silenced her. She's not saying anything that is untrue. She's not saying anything that's factually wrong. And she's not saying anything that is illegal. But they've arrested her and shut her up. Now, they recently just arrested Ranjit Brar for the same thing, for selling a book on communism. They've dropped those charges now. But for like 2 months, he couldn't speak on social media. He couldn't go to a protest. He couldn't. And this is what they're doing to people. This is how they manipulate the way a people act. This is the way they subjugate you and keep you passive and down so they can carry on taking off with all the money, all the wealth, all the resources, and have no rights and no laws for them. Meanwhile, we have nothing. That's serfdom, as far as I'm concerned. And we have to be very worried about it. And the media are not telling you so. If you're still watching the BBC, why? Why? Do you like being lied to? Do you enjoy being lied to? Do you switch them off? Come on. Start going to independent avenues.
All of that, absolutely. And just to make it clear, right, and Gordon, thank you for the acknowledgement, the aspects of the Great Reset. Here we go. So the climate change agenda, the idea that carbon dioxide drives climate change, complete fraud and bogus. Go look out how the Milankovitch cycles, the magnetosphere, the sun, cosmic radiation, tectonic plates, ICTZ, and all the other factors that go towards shaping the Earth's climate. Then also open borders. Open borders didn't work for India. It didn't work for Native America. It didn't work for Tasmania. Those peoples didn't have any say on all the people who were coming in that destroyed religion, destroyed language, destroyed India's industry, destroyed culture. We had to have a right about who comes in. No borders. You don't have any borders. If you have open borders, you don't have a country. Then also the LGBTQ, the trans agenda, because then if I don't know whether I'm a boy or a girl, a male or a female, my sense of identity is so lost, I become easy to manipulate. The whole idea about LTNs and ULEZ in order to restrict our movement, they're going to be bringing in restrictions on air travel next year, right? That's the timetable. So we don't get to fly abroad because of carbon dioxide. Never mind that carbon dioxide is plant food, right? Then also the WEF are owned by, they own Labour, they own Tory, they own the other parties, and then town boards. And the citizens' committees, you know about the citizens' committees, citizen assemblies that Labour are proposing, that instead of, they will pick people, appoint people who will then shape policy for the MPs to enact, therefore bypassing democratic accountability. They're setting up town boards. Town boards will be running local government and they won't be elected, they'll be appointed. So the government are doling out money for that. The censorship that's going on, the online speech bill or something, 1 year for an influencer for posting misinformation, but unless they're a regulated outlet, in which case they can post as much misinformation as they like. And the emaciation of small businesses, the largest employer in Britain, because small businesses mean you don't get to have an independent livelihood and people don't get to be flourish. The attack on religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity, whatever it is, the attack on families through the trans agenda, and also the There was something else as well. God, there's so much, right? They're coming at us from all sorts of angles. The attack on farming. The attack on farming and rewilding. We must let the country rewild and flourish and let nature flourish. Well, how are we supposed to feed our people? How are we supposed to feed people without farmland? How are we supposed the promotion of electric vehicles and the demonization of hydrocarbons? Isn't it no surprise whatsoever, Gordon, that the continent that is a net importer of hydrocarbons is telling the rest of the world, no fossil fuel for you, no development for you in Tanzania, no development for you, Bangladesh. No, you're going to be as poor as we're going to be because we have no energy in Europe. It is European imperialism for the 21st century.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying there, Rich, but come on. Farming is the number one cause of climate change and pollution. Oh, no, wait, that's war, isn't it? That's the United States military. That's the number one.
That's just a conspiracy theory. War is very good for the environment. Everybody
doesn't that one thing there, doesn't that just one thing there, just say to you, I mean, you and I actually disagree on the climate issue, but you have moved me somewhat over the years in our talks. This is great. This is why we should do. People on who disagree should talk.
Yes,
but I refuse to believe that they're serious about climate change when they don't ever call out the number one polluter as the number one cause of it. I mean, Greta Thunberg, in my opinion, she's never called that out as far as I'm concerned.
Probably she's got 9 cars. You know that she's got 9 cars. She has 9 cars.
She's got 9 cars. 9 cars. Really?
Yes.
Is that true?
9 cars. Yes. There had to be a disclosure about her wealth, and she's got loads of money. Loads of money.
Never connected the United States being the number one source of pollution on the planet, and it's not even close. She hasn't connected that. I sort of never called that out.
But Gordon, it's the hypocrisy. I don't get how people don't see the hypocrisy. They don't. You know, like for the lockdowns, like the G7 meeting in Cornwall, how the great and the good didn't have to wear masks, but the servants did. The servile people, the plebeians, the serfs, right? The slave.
I liked how they all flew into Scotland in the G20 to solve climate change on their private jets. That was a good one. That one. Well, come on.
Well, the latest one in Dubai, private jets for them and walking for us. Now the ULEZ, they've said, I don't know who it was, but I saw it this week. But one of them said that the non-compliant vehicles should be sent to Ukraine for the war effort. So it's all right if they emit pollutants in Ukraine. That doesn't damage the environment, but we can't have them in London.
Is that called offsetting your carbon credits?
Oh, it's just insane. No, it's just on the climate thing. If they were really, really serious about climate change, like tackling it, instead of building this surveillance system, and now they want to bring it to Belfast, right? Instead of building this surveillance system that tracks people's movements because they want to bring in paper mile, they'd plant trees. Everybody loves trees. Trees are low maintenance. They keep the temperature cool. They foster wildlife. They're cheap. No, we have to have surveillance. And we have to end farming because, I don't know if you've seen the stuff that if you grow your own food, that apparently produces 5 times more carbon dioxide, growing your own food, than farming does. So don't grow your own food. Eat insects, industrially produced insects, because that's there's no issue there for the environment. And Bill Gates' synthetic meat. Come on.
Rich, listen, I'm, as you know, now I'm on the fence on the climate issue. As you know, you've dragged me from the other side. You've got me on the set of the fence, which is all credit to you. And you did it, you bastard, with logic and reasoned arguments. So I should really stop talking to you. It's just, but I don't really know what's driving it or whether it is a thing. But what I do know is,
I'll tell you.
What I do know is this, though, mate. Us eating crickets is not going to change the weather.
It's not going to, and us paying more tax and walking 15 minutes is not going to change the weather. Why are they using carbon dioxide? Did I ask you? Did I say how much of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide? Do you remember?
It's tiny percent, wasn't it? 0 point something.
0.04%. Whoops, a little error there. It's actually 0.0004%. 400 parts per million. If you have 100,000 people, right? That's all the carbon dioxide. Do you know how much of that is down to human beings?
No.
1 in 100,000.
That's massive. We should put the price of plastic bags up immediately.
We should stop breathing. 1 in 100,000, right? So that's the amount that we contribute. Now, Here's why they're using carbon dioxide. This is, and the WF have come out and say that, and that incredible humanitarian Tony Blair is in support of this idea, right? And we all know if Tony Blair's for it, we all know where to stand, right? It makes it really clear, right? So you have a biometric ID. So you have a biometric ID, which is the whole point of the injections, a digital wallet, and a central bank digital currency, which is programmable. You attach a carbon tracker to it. Why are they doing carbon dioxide? Is it's a proxy for human activity. You can then gauge how much carbon dioxide I've consumed by eating steak, how much carbon dioxide I've consumed by traveling in a car, by traveling by bicycle, how much carbon dioxide I've consumed by traveling, by growing plants. They can make anything up because carbon dioxide is essential. We are carbon-based life forms. The whole planet runs on carbon.
Meanwhile, and I'm guessing, meanwhile, people like Bill Gates and rich people who, they won't have to alter their lifestyles at all.
They can buy carbon offsets.
Plant a few forests and they can carry on.
Yeah, they can buy carbon offsets. Right? That's the whole thing. What it does, it turns life into a commodity. So Bill Gates can say, we need to build these great big machines to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Well, there's nothing more efficient than plants. Farmers can buy, for their greenhouses, carbon dioxide generators that increase the atmosphere in the greenhouse to 1,000 parts per million. Why? Well, you have the right temperature, you have enough moisture, plants grow like crazy, and they grow really quick. And then you have a cow coming along, eating the grass, and it converts that carbon dioxide into organic matter, into meat, more efficiently than any carbon dioxide extractor that Bill Gates can build or use. And
people who grow cannabis plants in like a tent at home. You know what they put in their tent to fatten up the buds, and do you know what they inject into the tent?
No, CO2.
Carbon
dioxide. Oh my God, they're destroying the planet. But you grow plants, you destroy the planet.
That's how I know that. Everybody.
I'm sure a friend told you. You heard it or you read it somewhere because you're a great journalist and you do lots of research.
He's my mate.
That's why carbon dioxide. I can link it to your ID, your digital wallet, your CBDC, and then I can track your activity. It becomes a proxy for human activity.
These are scary times, mate. These are scary times.
Well, so just to finish on a positive note, they are failing. They are absolutely failing because we don't hear about the farmers' protests, how incredibly massive they are. There's the anti-war movement.
They're Spain, they're Italy, they're Holland, Germany.
Yep. And also the movement against immigration. Now, this is a difficult one for you and me, right? Because we're not racist. But
but you and I do understand that uncontrolled mass immigration causes huge amounts of problems. It always has done in history.
Yeah, I don't know if you know what's going on in Ireland. I've done quite a few videos in Ireland.
Yeah, I've heard the
20% migrant. 20% migrant from Georgia. Most of them from Georgia. The biggest one from Georgia. Ireland is a homogenous nation. It's not an imperialist nation like Britain was. They bring in all these military-age men. And it's not like Ireland is flourishing and it needs the workers. No, people are struggling because they've been printing loads of money and devaluing the euro, right? So people are struggling. So then you have these alien arrivals, these migrants who are now competing for the same resources as the local people, and it destroys family and culture and creates conflict.
They've got a plan for them, Rich. They've got a plan for those military-age men that are coming in the country. Do you know what it is?
Yes.
They're going to put them in the military.
Yep.
They can say you can go in the military and you'll get citizenship. It's the plot of Starship Troopers.
I don't know if you've heard the Kalegi plan. The whole idea of replacing white people. They want to replace white people in Europe with people from other parts of the world because they figure that people from Africa and the Middle East and Asia will be more compliant because they're less used to democracy. So that's why there's this anti-white agenda. This whole idea that BLM have that, Gordon, you're racist because you're a white person. No, Gordon may be racist if after a critical examination of various philosophies, he adopts that ideology, but it's got nothing to do with his skin color. Because that's the whole thing, that I'm a particular way because of my skin color. No. Being white doesn't make you racist. Being white just means Gordon has to take more care in the sun than I do. That's all it means. Also means I have to work harder at getting the same amount of vitamin D that you get, Gordon.
It took me a long time to get this tan, mate. I tell you. It really did.
My wife is very fair. She gets in 20 minutes on a cloudy day in Brighton when it takes me 2 hours on a really sunny day.
My missus is the opposite to me. She'll lie in the sun for 8 hours if she can all day long. So.
Yeah, we have to work hard. Gordon, absolutely fabulous talking to you. Really, really enjoy it. We should do this again. Glad that you're back. And GordonDimmack.com and then my links, because Gordon, you can post this on your channels as well, right?
I'll put clips on TikTok as well.
Yep. Everybody, thank you so much. Please share this video. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.